welcome back to the auditorium. I see that we had a lot of people earn the adversary emulation badge over the break. Congratulations. Well done. We've got a lot of great engagement going on. I enjoyed having the chat with people in the MAD booth. And looks like we've got people from around the world here in the conference today. 2,100 people registered, lots of great engagement. So let's keep that rolling with our keynote speech. This is going to be by Rich Struse. Rich is the founding director of the Center for Threat-Informed Defense at Mitre Engenuity. Before that, he was also the CTO at Department of Homeland Security's NKIC. And maybe most famously, he is the creator of Styx and Taxi. So without further ado, I will pass it to Rich for his keynote speech.
Good morning and welcome to Mitre Ingenuity's first ever Threat-Informed Defense user conference. I'm Rich Struse, director of the Center for Threat-Informed Defense at Mitre Ingenuity. And it's my distinct pleasure to provide the keynote for you this morning, a threat-informed defense approach to security. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to walk through my definition and hopefully your definition of what threat-informed defense is, why it's important to you and other practitioners in the community, and then highlight some of the key ways that Mitre Ingenuity is trying to make it easier for you, the security practitioner, to leverage threat-informed defense and all of its advantages in your security operations. This is just the first in a series of presentations throughout the day, and I, for one, am really looking forward to hearing from all my colleagues at Mitre and Mitre Ingenuity, talking about all the different aspects of threat-informed defense and how it's making a difference in organizations around the world. So let's start off at the beginning in a very logical question. What is threat-informed defense? And I remember back to 2017 when I arrived at Mitre and I saw the great work that was going on in the attack team here at Mitre and the attack community that was forming organically. What I saw was a lot of incredibly creative approaches, people using attack to improve their security operations, to improve the efficacy of their detections, to improve their ability to look like adversaries. But what was missing was a name for this. And so when I came up with the term threat-informed defense, I never expected it to catch on the way it has. But really, in essence, what I think of threat-informed defense is, it's this application in a systematic way, and I think that's critical, of the kind of information and understanding about adversaries, information and understanding you see in things like Mitre's attack knowledge base, and using that information to improve your defenses. And we'll talk a little more about this in a few different ways, but fundamentally think of threat-informed defense as taking the information we understand and the adversary's perspective into account when we think about our security operations. But really, what is threat-informed defense? I've just given you a more formal definition, but here are some ways that I like to think about threat-informed defense. First, I think of threat-informed defense and the kinds of information you see in things like the attack knowledge base as a lens through which you can view your security posture. And so I think one of the great advances that the attack knowledge base brought to the community was to really become that common language to describe adversary tactics, techniques, and procedures, or TTPs. And using those TTPs organized as attack has organized them into a matrix, it becomes a way to look at your security operations, look at your ability to proactively protect against adversaries or detect those adversaries or react to them, and use the attack knowledge base and the principles of threat-informed defense to organize your thinking. In addition, or really as a consequence, threat-informed defense becomes a way to prioritize your security strategy and investments. Because it's based on real-world adversary behavior, what threat-informed defense gives you is an answer to that age-old question, what do we do first? Or what do we do next? So if you think about patching vulnerabilities or implementing security controls or procuring and configuring and deploying security products, where do you begin? And attack and threat-informed defense gives you a natural answer to that, in that you really have to start with that highest priority adversary behavior that you're at most risk to. Another way of thinking about threat-informed defense is that it's a way to assess the effectiveness of those things that you've already deployed in your security architecture. What are your security investments, and how well are they performing against real-world threats? Ultimately, that's what's important. The fact that a particular security capability checks a bunch of boxes on a checklist is nice, but if it's not effective at delivering a prevention or detection or reaction to real-world adversary behavior that you care about, then it's really not doing anything good for you at all. So this use of attack and threat-informed defense as a way of looking at how good your organization is doing against threats turns out to be critically important. I think fundamentally, when you step back, threat-informed defense is really a way of thinking. And as I said a couple of minutes ago, if you start to put yourself in the mindset of the adversary, if you have a systematic understanding of the tactics, techniques, and procedures that the adversary is deploying against you, if you understand the technology that they're using to achieve their objectives, if you understand how adversaries are living off the land or using the resources that you provide for your users and administrators in your enterprise environment, if you understand how adversaries are looking at you and your infrastructure, it really changes your perspective around security and the way you organize your investments, because you're no longer thinking in terms simply about complying to checklists or other compliance regimes. You're now able to overlay that understanding that you have sentient adversaries out there that are adaptively employing a suite of techniques to achieve their objectives. And so this mindset change is, I think, perhaps one of the most important aspects of threat-informed defense, in that it really hopefully begins to shift our thinking from a reactive mode to more of a proactive mode. But ultimately, the thing I value the most about threat-informed defense, and the thing that I think characterizes it more than anything else, is that it's a community. It's a large and rapidly growing community. And really what I've seen is very powerful, in that members of this community are sort of organically organizing and bringing their expertise, sharing their experiences, leveraging their understanding of adversary behaviors, but then making that available to others. And it's that spirit of community that exists among defenders that gives me the greatest hope for our ability to leverage threat-informed defense and the information and things like the attack knowledge base to really begin to change the game on the adversary. But we've talked a little about what is threat-informed defense, but where does it fit in? For an organization that has an existing security program, how do you really begin to think about implementing threat-informed defense? And to my mind, one of the most important things to understand is that threat-informed defense rests on a foundation of solid enterprise cybersecurity. So threat-informed defense is something that an organization implements as they are getting a handle on their fundamental cyber hygiene, their asset management, vulnerability management, configuration management, their perimeter defenses, their vulnerability and patch prioritization, their filtering and proxies. Those are all foundational technologies, and there's nothing in attack that replaces or obviates the need for those things. So I really want to be clear that this is intended to be an evolutionary strategy, that you add threat-informed defense into an organization's security posture as you really get that solid foundation in place. On top of that solid foundation, I really break threat-informed defense into two major categories that align nicely with the two major Mitre initiatives in this area. The first one is adversary prevention and detection. And that's really the province of attack. That's where attack has really revolutionized the approach to cybersecurity, because that's where we focus on understanding adversary TTPs and then figuring out what we can do to prevent them from being successful in the first place, or detect adversaries employing those techniques, or responding or remediating when they use those techniques. And so it's that first and fundamental layer of threat-informed defense that really aligns with the attack knowledge base. I'm also excited about an emerging area of threat-informed defense, one that you're going to be hearing more about next year, which is adversary engagement. So if attack is about preventing adversaries or detecting them or remediating from their activities, adversary engagement is actually moving out and proactively engaging the adversary within the boundaries of your environment. And you can think of that in terms of things like deception or denial, whether it's honeypots or sandboxes or any number of other techniques that you can employ. Adversary engagement is advancing the perimeter of engagement with the adversary, so you're not simply waiting for them to come into your environment. As they enter your environment, you're waiting for them. So with that understanding of the environment, I want to highlight briefly, and you're going to hear more from each of these programs throughout the rest of the day. I want to highlight 3 key initiatives that Mitre Engenuity is spearheading that accelerate the adoption and implementation of threat-informed defense across the global community. I'll start with the Mitre Attack Defender program, and those of you who joined earlier this morning got a great view of exactly what Mitre Attack Defender is doing, and really revolutionizing the delivery of high-quality threat-informed defense training, and then really groundbreaking certification regime that really is helping people up-level their skills and demonstrate those skills to others in the community. The key thing about Mitre Attack Defender is its information about attack and threat-informed defense from the people who created attack and threat-informed defense. And everything in it is designed to simplify and lower the barriers for people to be able to gain the skills that they need to implement threat-informed defense effectively within their organization. And I'm excited about the impact that we've seen of the Mitre Attack Defender community, now with almost 30,000 individuals around the world who have experienced Mitre Attack Defender training, with over 9,000 hours of individual effort, with thousands of badges and certifications that have already been earned. So Mitre Attack Defender is a critical component in helping up-level the skills and expertise across the community. Complementing that is Mitre Attack Evaluations. And Mitre Attack Evaluations is really all about doing assessments of and evaluations of security products and services in a threat-informed defense perspective, using the understanding of real-world adversaries to evaluate the efficacy of a particular tool or security solution to do what they say it's going to do, to be able to protect against or detect specific adversary behavior. And Attack Evaluations operates in an open and objective manner, with the results of all attack evaluations made freely available to the community. So if you're trying to understand, as you're on your threat-informed defense journey, how a particular product solution may actually perform, seen through the lens of Mitre Attack, Attack Evaluations is a critical resource. And finally, near and dear to my heart, since I'm the director and co-founder of the center, is the Center for Threat-Informed Defense. And we're a collaborative research and development organization which has a mission to advance the state of the art and the state of the practice in threat-informed defense. We're all about creating resources that the community can use to up their game in responding to adversaries. You'll hear more about each of these programs as the day goes on. I want to leave you with some just quick ideas of the resources that Mitre Engenuity and its cybersecurity programs are making available to the community, and how you should be able to think about picking up and using those today. Mitre Attack Defender, again, has resources such as video training broken up into easy to consume modules, and then badges and certifications that you can earn across a variety of areas of threat-informed defense, starting with cyber threat intelligence and SOC assessment, and you just saw this morning adversary emulation. Attack Evaluations, again, provides freely available resources. You go to the Attack Evaluations website, you'll see really a comprehensive understanding across multiple adversary groups of how specific products fare in detecting or preventing those TTPs being successful. And finally, the Center for Threat-Informed Defense has published 13 R&D projects to date, with many more on the way that are freely available up on the center's website. And you'll be hearing from each of these programs throughout the day, where we dive into some more detail about the resources that you can start using today. Ultimately, I believe firmly that working together, that we can change the rules of the game on the adversary. I hope you enjoy the rest of the presentations today, and I hope you'll take the information that we provide and really use it to begin to change the game on the adversary. Thank you.